Hello! In this video I would like to show you how to use the Migaku mobile app for making flashcards for language learning, also known as sentence mining, and here's a quick demonstration of how it works. So let's say I'm watching some local Japanese video, for example initial D in this case, and let's say I find a word that I don't know, for example genjitsumi. And all I have to do is click this button here, and it's automatically going to record the audio for it and make the card. So it says card created, and now, I already have the card for it, which I can review in the Migaku app or export it to Anki, which I'll show later. And it's literally that simple, so if you're already somewhat familiar with this style of learning, you most likely don't even need to watch the rest of the video because you'll just figure out everything else by yourself. In which case, I also have a ref link in the description if you decide to continue not watching this video. However, Migaku still has some other features that I would still really like to show, so not only can you watch and sentence mine videos from local files as well as YouTube, but you can also make videos from text-based content, including from images and websites. But let's just go back to the local player for a moment, and for this example I'm using the first episode of Initial D, and now I need to choose the Japanese subtitles. So there are three options for that. Some video files already have the subtitles built into the file, but if not, I can also choose a local subtitle file, and I'll link a few places where you can get Japanese subtitles from. Or the third option is to automatically generate Japanese subtitles using Migaku. And this is an incredibly useful feature because there are so many old TV shows and movies or anime that don't have subtitles available from anywhere. So essentially with this feature, you're able to sentence mine absolutely anything. But for the time being, let's go with a local subtitle file. So, okay, I chose the subtitle file, and now I just hit play video. And now, as the video is playing, I also have the subtitles that are automatically synced to the video. And for example, I can jump between subtitles as well. So if I want to skip the intro, I can click on this timestamp to jump ahead. And for example, let's say I want to look up this word, I'll tap on it, and here I have multiple options. For example, here are audio examples. You have pictures, some example sentences, and under this button you have an LLM explanation. And I'm honestly not gonna lie, this feature can be really useful, especially if you're a beginner and you find like a more niche word that doesn't have a really good explanation in the dictionary, in which case this is just a helpful shortcut. And there's also a similar feature for a sentence breakdown, like this. You can also translate the sentence, and you have quick links for example, jisho.org and so on for lookups for this word. Okay, so let's jump ahead a bit. And another thing you can do is you can select multiple subtitles and you can combine them. And instead of instantly creating the card, you can also send it to the card creator in case you want to customize something. So I sent it here, and let's say I want to remove the new line from here, and maybe I want to add a new line here. And here's all the card data. Here's the sentence audio. Here's a word audio. And you can just hit create card. And it's literally that simple. This player actually has a ton of customizations as well that I'm not going to be covering in this video because, well, okay, you can, for example, put on furigana as well for all of the kanji words. I personally always keep it off though. And these colors for these words are pitch accent colorings, but for example, if you don't want them, you can turn them off over here. So then everything is just white. And another nice feature is that you can track words that you have already mined. So if a new word shows up, it's usually going to have a red underline. So for example, genjitsumi, well, I've actually mined this word, but I manually put it to unknown. But if you want, you can manually, for example, hit track on it. So then it's underlined with purple, and you can see that you've already encountered this word. And over time, it will automatically mark it as known. Now, even though this player is really powerful, I'm not going to go more in depth about it for the simple reason that I've already made 2 videos on Migaku for the desktop version. And that's a tool that I'm still using myself every single day. So instead, I will quickly like to show how YouTube works. So for example, if I click YouTube here, so you can obviously search for any video here, but Migaku already has a few playlists here. So let's take, for example, late beginner and the second video from here. So you can click watch with Migaku, and now you can just watch YouTube with this Migaku player and do lookups as well as sentence mine. So let's, for example, send it to the card creator. We have the sentence, we have the target word, we have the definition, we have the audio from the video. We have a dictionary audio for that word. And we have a screenshot from the video, and we can just hit create card. And then you also have the reading features. So for example, the clipboard, I can paste Japanese text here, click read, and then it's going to parse the text that I just pasted. And you can also easily do lookups and do sentence mining and so on. So, and for example, you have the web browser. So let's, for example, put a Wikipedia article here and hit read with Migaku. And as you can see, it transformed the website to something that you can actually sentence mine with Migaku. Another thing you can do is images to text and camera to text. In this case, I chose a local file. So for example, I chose this area here, and as you can see, it actually reads the text. And I can also do lookups from here. So for example, let's say I want to add this to the card creator. It adds the sentence as well as the picture that I mined the text from. And I can hit create card. And in this case, I sent all of the cards that I just made into this mining deck. So for example, this is just an SRS system that's also pretty optimized for language learning. So for example, here is a card that I made from a movie. Here's the card that I made from earlier, here's the card that I made from the YouTube video, and here's the card that I made from the manga panel. And this is the end screen it has. And Migaku also has courses, which are basically just pre-made cards that can help you get started with learning a language, or for example, some specific things. So if I add plus course here, add Migaku course, you have fundamentals, Japanese level 1, kanji level 1, animals, body parts, clothing, technology, and so on, right? So if you're a complete beginner to learning Japanese, they also have a bunch of courses and eventually move on to sentence mining. And that's actually all I'm going to show when it comes to the mobile app, because you can figure everything else out by watching the previous videos I made about Migaku and just playing around with it and experimenting by yourself. However, what if you prefer using Anki instead of Migaku Memory? Well, in this case, there's actually a third-party tool that lets you export cards from Migaku Memory to Anki. And for that, I'm going to move on to the computer. So let's say I want to export this deck from Migaku Memory to Anki. Well, for that, all I have to do is use this script on GitHub known as Migaku Exporter. And to use it, you also need the extension known as Violent Monkey. So let's add that. And after adding it, click on this javascript.js script, copy it, then click on Violent Monkey, add a new script, delete this comment, and paste. Then save. And now refresh the Migaku study page, and you should have this button here. And now when you click on it, there's a Migaku Exporter option. And this is what it looks like. And it has a bunch of options. So the name of my deck was mining. So I look for Japanese and click on mining. And just click export selected text. It's zipping it. And now you have an Anki deck that includes those cards. So after opening it, all I have to do is hit import, and it added all of the cards. But when I look at these cards, they are a little bit weird in the sense that, for example, there is no image here. Well, that's because this sentence note type isn't properly set up. So one option you have is to click on cards and properly edit this to have the images and so on. Or what you can also do is, for example, select all of them, change note type. And here you can map the fields of these to a different note type. For example, I always use my Migaku Japanese custom styling one, and everything looks pretty okay. So I'll just click save. And as you can see, these cards were exported perfectly from Migaku Memory. You have the image, you have the audio, and everything works totally fine. So that's how you export from Migaku Memory to Anki. And actually, that's pretty much it for this video. So hopefully it was useful. So if Migaku and the Migaku mobile app are something that you feel would benefit you, then I do have a ref link in the description. But just to clarify, you can get completely fluent in Japanese without ever spending any money whatsoever. So I am recommending this tool for people that have the means to buy it and will genuinely feel that they will benefit from it. And whether or not it's going to be worth it for yourself personally is entirely up to you. And that's it. So hopefully I can see you soon in some main channel video. So there.